have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Commissioner Woodward. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0. Is there a motion to receive and file the Small Business Advisory Committee minutes from October 1, 2024 and December 3rd, 2024? I have a motion by Commissioner Flores, a second by Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0. Consent agenda. Does anyone push to pull anything from consent? We do have one speaking card
On consent.
on consent. Would you like to do that now or after we approve the
You would do
consent
it now.
agenda? Okay.
Alexandria Larson.
Good morning. I'm just curious about Okeechobee because yesterday with the federal legislative things that we're going for, they say that the stuff goes by train, I guess from Dade, Broward, and us to Okeechobee. And I didn't know if that affects us in any way, shape, or form. I'm always curious about Okeechobee because we do have I think we have the capacity to take care of our own trash in each of the counties. Like Dade County wanted to build an incinerator. Now they're not going to build an incinerator. So I always get concerned of the later agreements of, well, Dade will ship their stuff up here because we have an incinerator, you know? And I do not like new sources of pollution. Every one that I see, I kind of choke. And then I choke for all of us. But they took off something about lobbying for a railroad, and I'm like wondering how everything's going to get from A to B because our roads we're not driving on diamonds, we're driving on potholes. I almost lost an axle 3 times today coming here from where I live. So I was just curious about Okeechobee and their capacity and your agreement with them. I'm just trying to learn about Okeechobee because I haven't gone up to one of their meetings yet, but I will. Thank you.
So this item 5L is a backup agreement that we have with WM, which owns and operates the Okeechobee landfill. In the event of a major hurricane or natural disaster, it provides capacity to ship structural debris in the event we get hit with a big one to their landfill at a specified price. So that's the extent of the use of that landfill. It's a privately owned regional landfill in Okeechobee County.
Thank you, Mr. Pelowitz. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
I have a first by Commissioner Woodward. I have a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0. And now we are going to do matters by the public. How many cards do we have? We have 4 cards. So if you would please.
Jessica Namath.
Good morning, commissioners and members and attendees of the Solid Waste Authority. My name is Jessica Namath. I have been a county resident for nearly 4 decades and am the founder and director at Palm Beach Clean Air. I'm here today to address a pressing issue that affects our community, our environment, and future generations. The proposal for incineration is a waste management solution in Palm Beach County. While I understand the challenges we face with waste disposal, I urge you to reconsider incineration as a viable option. Incineration may seem like a quick fix for our waste management issues, but it's far from the sustainable solution we need. First and foremost, the environmental impact of incineration is alarming. While proponents tout it as a means of reducing landfill waste, the reality is that incineration contributes to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The burning of waste releases harmful pollutants, including dioxins, furans, and heavy metals, which pose serious health risks to our community. According to the World Health Association, these toxins can lead to respiratory issues, cardiovascular diseases, and even cancer. Are we willing to compromise the health of our residents for the sake of a temporary solution? Moreover, incineration doesn't address the root cause of our waste crisis. It encourages a throwaway culture. where we continue to produce excessive waste without considering the long-term consequences. Instead of investing in incineration, we should focus on waste reduction, recycling, and composting initiatives. By promoting a circular economy, we can significantly reduce the amount of waste we generate, ultimately leading to a cleaner and healthier environment. Let's also consider the financial implications of incineration. The infrastructure required for incineration facilities is expensive to build and maintain. These costs often fall on taxpayers, diverting funds away from more sustainable practices, such as education, public health, and community development. Also, if it's cheaper for Miami-Dade to truck waste to Okeechobee, then it certainly would be for Palm Beach County. Investing in recycling and composting programs not only creates jobs, but also stimulates the local economy and fosters community engagement. Additionally, incineration facilities can lead to social inequities. Often these facilities are located in marginalized communities, disproportionately affecting those who are already vulnerable. We must ensure that our waste management solutions do not exacerbate existing inequalities, but instead promote environmental justice for all residents of Palm Beach County. In conclusion, I implore you to reject the incineration proposal and instead invest in sustainable waste management solutions that prioritize the health of our community, the integrity of our environment, and the well-being of future generations. Let us work together to create a cleaner, greener Palm Beach County by embracing innovative approaches to waste reduction, recycling, and composting. Thank you for your time and for considering the long-term health and prosperity of our community.
Thank you for your comments. Next we have
Alexandria Larson.
It's really sad for me to come here, Commissioners, because I've witnessed way too much at this particular place throughout the years. Always, and when I walk in the door, there's always somebody telling me something that's going on at the Solid Waste Authority that I should know about. And I do. I miss Jim Mize. He stuck up for us once, and he went home that night and died. We are at I don't know, we're at like a zenith, because I was walking in, I was on the walkway. Ants are they're up high. That means we're probably going to flood this year at some point. When the ants go up on the hills, you can just watch the ants and where they are, and you'll know what's going to happen, because we got whacked in 95, 2012, and we're probably due again for another good situation where people are flooding, because whenever I see that, my husband used to watch that stuff. And we are, we just don't learn from our mistakes. I don't know why, because I was here, Commissioners, and I know last time I was scolded because I was told that didn't happen, and it's unbelievable, because we don't need incinerators. I bet we could give this to a 7th grader, a 7th grade class of young men and ladies, and they could find a way and give us some ideas on how to fix things. Kids are really bright. My nephews and nieces, they would hit me with something that was just out of this world. And I always appreciated that. I was like, I didn't never think of it that way. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board as far as this incinerator goes, because we spent $1 billion just a few years ago. Now this one's going to cost us. I don't know what site you're going to choose. Everybody's giving me a different idea what you're going to choose, but one of them involves tearing down this building to accommodate that incinerator. I hope that's not the one. You know what I mean? I really am concerned about us. I don't like what I see, and I will try to continue to let you know that. I don't try to communicate in emails. I always try to do it in public for you. That way, nobody can argue with me, but to be scolded and called a liar, I don't lie. I don't. It's not in my DNA. So I did live through the original incinerator being built. We were told this is going to save us. We were also told we didn't need it for 8 years, but we're going to build it now to save us money and time and energy. So hopefully you'll take that into consideration. Just because the taxpayers have money and we have money doesn't mean we got to spend it. Maybe we should try to be a little bit lower, because where I live, if you live out where I live, we pay the highest rates for trash. It's on the agenda again, or later on in the agenda. So hopefully you'll take that into consideration, because it is some of the poorest people, like Belglade and us, pay the highest rates for trash, and it's under the premise that we're so big. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Next up, we have
Gail Ladd.
Good morning. My name is Gail Ladd from Jupiter, Florida. I'm a member of the Loxahatchee Group or the Sierra Club, and I'm glad to see you this morning. I have a few important reasons to reject the building of a new incinerator. Surprise, surprise. Burning waste turns into toxic ash and toxic emissions. That seems like a scientific fact. It's unhealthy to our environment and people, especially those who live close by. Note the objection of Donald Trump's son down in Miami-Dade regarding an incinerator that was planned in Miami-Dade near the Doral Golf Course. That and other environmental objections caused Miami-Dade's mayor to rescind her approval for the incinerator. Incinerators are very, very, did I say very, very expensive, much more than a well-managed landfill. According to the Energy and Information Administration, trash incineration is the most expensive type of electricity production. No electric corporations would ever decide to do that kind of supposedly waste to energy. Incinerators are not cost effective for energy. There are more efficient ways and methods to produce energy. It is not waste to energy. That's a physics thing, you know, E equals MC squared. You can't do that. Incinerators are old methods of waste management. Why are we in Palm Beach County even debating this? Let's look at Austin, Texas. Their lead, we can be as good as Texas or better. Let's embrace composting and zero waste philosophy. Recycling and composting save 3 to 5 times more energy than cutting down trees, making paper, and then burning it. Florida should be a leader, not a state behind the times. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have
Linda Smith.
Linda Smith, representing the Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group, Jupiter, Florida. I was reviewing the October 23rd minutes, and if I understand it, if we do nothing and maintain the burning capacity, we run out of landfill space at 2054. If we do nothing and we run out of, if we do absolutely nothing, we run out of space in 2044. And if we do nothing except extend Reef 1 by 5 years without a replacement, we run out of space in 2046. If we do nothing except replace Reef 1 outside of its footprint, landfill capacity depletes in 2061. One thing that seems consistent in all these scenarios, if we do nothing, we run out of landfill capacity. Even if we do all this stuff, we run out of landfill capacity, so that's kind of a given. We're going to have to export our waste at some point. Or another thing that's consistent in all those scenarios is that if we do nothing, so let's not do nothing, let's do something and consider some alternatives. Commercial recycling, give them a bonus. Put the plastic water bottle back on the ad, and I had it here in the right order, and put that little symbol for no bags back in the ad, because I understand the plastic bags in the blue bin is a real problem. I see food-to-food recycling is on the agenda later today, so great. So we're not doing nothing. We are doing things, and we need to continue to do more. Redesign the bins. I mean, this is out of the box kind of thought, but 3 compartments: trash, recycle, and compost, all in one bin. Pass ordinances like Gainesville to become closer to zero waste. I know it seems weird that the Sierra Club is advocating for landfills. It's kind of an oxy. It's just mind-blowing, but it's more environmentally and physically responsible way to do trash with, but you have to do the with, a comprehensive waste reduction plan. The material separation plan that I received is dated 2010. It might be time to maybe update that. I don't know if at that point we were actually exporting our plastics to China. I don't know that fact. I know some communities were. There may have been a reason that the Reef 2 is the only new incinerator in the U.S. for the past 25 years. The reason is a bad idea. Methane is more potent, but not as long-lasting as CO2. And if our landfill emits too much methane, divert the food and vegetation waste and develop a better methane waste capture system.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Smith. The clerk has the cards. Thank you. So there's no public hearing today. Old business, is there any old business?
We need a motion and an approval of consent agenda.
May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mayor Marino as the first, Commissioner Woodward as the second. All in favor? Aye. All any opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0. Okay, is there any old?
E1. You in old business?
Mm-hmm.
I have another call. There is no old business.
Thank you. New business. We have
9A1. This is the time of year where we revisit the Citizens Advisory Committee appointments. Each board member has the opportunity to have a Citizens Advisory Committee member for their district. We also have 4 at-larges. If you have a change or you want to nominate someone for your district, you simply need to state it. Otherwise, we'll need the board to vote on the reappointment of the 4 at-large.
Are there any board members who wish to make new appointments? Anyone besides me? I'm going to appoint Patricia Farrell.
Thank you. We'll make contact with her and get everything set up.
Sounds good. And do we still need to reappoint the at-large?
Yeah, we do have to reappoint the at-large. So we just need a motion, second, and a vote to reappoint the at-larges.
I make a motion. Second.
I have a first by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0. Do you want us to do the new appointment separately from the at-large or all together?
You don't really need to vote on the new appointments, but
Okay.
as long as you've named yours, that's fine.
And so then we will move on to the next item.
Yes.
9D1.
Yes, 91. I guess we have a staff presentation, so I think we take this presentation and then the comments from the public. Is that correct?
We need to do B and C.
Oh, B and C. Oh, we have 9C as the add-on. That's correct.
Is there a presentation on 9C?
Mr. Carroll can provide a brief presentation.
Yeah,
on 9C.
no presentation. This is just an informational item on our ongoing efforts to develop the drop-off facility at our Lantana transfer station. As part of our design and due diligence efforts, we committed to solicit feedback from the community. To that end, we had a meeting on January 7th. We had about 15 residents that attended that meeting. One gentleman was opposed to the facility. All others had no issue. We did a brief presentation on what we were going to be doing, and they all were in favor of it. And I can answer any questions.
Are you looking for a motion to approve this?
It's a receive and
receive
file. I
and
need a
file.
motion to receive and file.
Can I get a motion to receive and file?
Second.
Mayor Marino as the first, Commissioner Woodward as the second. All in favor? Any opposed? See that the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Now back to the regular agenda. 91.
So staff has a presentation. We do have one card on that. So if you'd like to take the presentation and then the card.
Perfect.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Following the direction provided at our last board meeting, staff has been working on the following initiatives. Vegetation volume tracking technology. We are researching available technologies to track vegetation volumes at the curb. Garbage collection frequency. We will maintain the current twice-a-week garbage collection schedule as directed. Service Area 6 relocation. We have prepared a proposal for a new location for Service Area 6 in the presentation that will follow. The hauler feedback forum. An open forum was held with the haulers to gather input on the current service levels, including the feasibility of increasing vegetation volume limits from 6 to 12 cubic yards, our current levels of service, and any other topics the attendees wanted to discuss. And lastly, our cooperative purchase agreement for Service Area 5. Staff is still evaluating options for Service Area 5, considering renewal or a new bid process, as this is their contract renewal year.
All right, can we just pause a second because we don't have the presentation on the big screen and on the sides. Okay. Thanks. Okay, we have them up here, so we're good.
This is an overlay of our current service areas as they are now. This next slide is an enhanced view of Service Area 6, our SMWBE service area cutout. As a recap, in our October 2024 workshop, the unincorporated areas were divided into 7 survey areas, A through G, on the survey. We received 10,716 responses out of 193,000 postcards that were mailed. The satisfaction rate was 97% on our current level of service. 91% wanted twice a week garbage collection, which is our current system. For the 6 cubic yard limit for yard waste, 95% said it's enough, where 5% wanted a higher limit, mostly in the communities with the larger lot sizes. 93% did not want to pay more for a higher limit, where 7% were willing to pay at least $10 a month. Within service areas B and D, which is Loxahatchee and Jupiter Farms, 85% did not want to pay more for a higher yard waste limit, and 15% were willing to only pay more when they need it, which is our current system. The board directed us to continue the twice-a-week garbage collection, 5-day or 6-day work week for collection, and to explore options to see if we could credit the first 6 cubic yards for non-compliant piles. Board directed staff to explore alternate limits for yard waste, for staff to explore the use of technology to track the yard waste volumes at the curb, for Service Area 6 to propose a new location and standalone MWBE service area, Service Area 5 to explore the cooperative purchase agreement with the City of South Bay, and for staff to meet with current haulers and potential bidders, which we did on December 5th at our open forum. This is the feedback we received from the haulers who attended the forum. When we asked about vegetation collection and the level of service, FCC stated they were happy with the current limit and estimate system we utilize for additional volumes. Coastal suggested the first 6 cubic yards be included in the base fee, and haulers could collect up to 12 cubic yards and bill SWA the difference. The street would then be cleaned, and so that way the trucks didn't have to return on a non-service day, and they would bid the price for the difference. Waste Management agreed with Coastal as shown above. Waste Pro said they were happy with the current limits and cost estimates for additional volumes, which is our current system. They said that this won't work to subtract the 6 cubic yard from estimates due to the cost of the services. However, we may need to increase the prices for logs since it's charged at a higher tipping fee category at the scales. Next, we brought up the possibility of a subscription service. FCC said this would be difficult to track. Coastal said it could be feasible depending on the density and quantity of customers utilizing the service. The next topic we discussed was, could vegetation volumes be tracked? Waste Management said they are concerned that this may encourage illegal dumping or the improper placement of waste on neighboring properties. Unanimously, they said that tracking vegetation volumes would be challenging as haulers cannot accurately predict the number of clam trucks that they would be required to use from 1 week to the next. Coastal said there's no feasible way to account for the bid to accommodate routes without implementing a handheld tablet system, which could lead to additional costs for the hauler. This also poses several operational challenges as haulers would need a robust database and would have to depend on drivers to accurately track the data. Basically, you're putting the driver perception on what you had at the curb. They would have to rely on that. The next topic was the relocation of Service Area 6 to the northern portion of Service Area 3. There was a representative from Florida Waste Haulers and Recyclers Coalition, and he made a suggestion to add additional qualifications, such as a category for companies classified as middle market disadvantaged businesses to promote more competitive pricing. The Good Company recommended giving preference to haulers that partner with small businesses as subcontractors to service routes, rather than just provide support services. For example, subcontractors that provide some of the frontline services, such as collection. Lastly, we opened the floor for any other topics of concern, and the following was their feedback. Staff asked if it was possible to maintain a twice-a-week service while operating within a 5-day work week. FCC said they were in favor of this because it improved quality of life for workers. Waste Management said this approach would enhance equipment maintenance. For example, they gave an example that in Martin County, a garbage collection is scheduled on Monday through Thursday, with all vegetation collected on Friday. Haulers could then use Saturday as a makeup day for holidays and to perform necessary equipment maintenance. They call it a shift a day and a day delay. One request by the haulers were for some transfer station changes. Waste Management and Coastal requested extended hours, either open earlier or stay open later to assist with the increased traffic flow, as well as limited Sunday operating hours for certain locations. Waste Pro asked for non-haulers to be diverted to a separate location to reduce line time and safety concerns, and Coastal requested to extend the collection time frame past 5 o'clock. A question asked was, can the customer service center be located outside of the county? Our answer at this time is no, the customer service center should be located inside the county. Another topic discussed were the rates. Waste Management addressed the commercial rates, stating they are below the rate of inflation. They believe adjusting these rates could help create a more competitive pricing for residential services. It was mentioned that increasing the commercial rates could subsidize the residential rates. This is something that we've not done in the past. Back in 2013, we created a more balanced bid process where we set the commercial rate. By doing so, the haulers going into the bid process knew exactly what they were going to make on the commercial side, and it would help them set their residential rates. And also, it created a more balanced process because we had the same business, we'll use a McDonald's, for instance, on Lake Worth Road was paying a different rate than the business on Pipeluxo. So by creating a balanced bid process, it just created a more equitable bid rate process. I believe we saved over $50 million during the life of that contract through this process.
So, yeah, just a point on that. Prior to 2013, we would ask the haulers who were bidding on these contracts to bid a commercial rate and a residential rate. The haulers' approaches to bidding vary. So in some cases, you got a really high commercial rate, and in other cases, you got a lower commercial rate. And so one of the complaints we got from businesses is, I own multiple businesses throughout the county, and why is it my business on the south of Lake Worth Road is paying $2.30 a yard, and why is my business in the northern part of the county paying $5 a yard? And we decided then, we did a lot of research to come up with what we felt was a reasonable rate, and so we specified what the commercial rate had to be at the time, in the entire unincorporated area. So that was a fixed number in the bid. So then all they had to do at that point is bid the residential. And so at that time, we came in, our estimate of a rate was like about $3 a yard. The board adopted $3.25. and we've just been increasing it with inflation every year. Where are we now?
About 430 a cubic yard.
About 430 a cubic yard. Now, I will point out that most of the county is significantly higher than that. There are rates at $9, $11, $12 a yard that haulers are charging. I'll just come right out and say it. The main reason a lot of places do that is because it helps to subsidize residential. So the commercial pays more than what it actually costs to provide the service so that they can offer lower residential rates under the contract. That's something we've never done. What we've always said is that your rates have to be balanced, that when you bid, it has to be balanced. And by that means that if your residential rate is excessively high and your commercial rate is excessively low, that we reserve the right to throw out that bid, or vice versa. And so we always kind of did an internal estimate to figure out what was reasonable, and everything came out fine. But in 2013, we were really looking to get rates closer together countywide, and that's why we switched to 5 big districts from the smaller districts we had before. And what we ended up with and we combined some western areas with some eastern areas, and what we ended up with was closer rates countywide, more equivalent rates countywide. So this is just pointing out that, obviously the haulers are looking at our commercial rate and they're saying it's a lot less than we get in other places. Whether it's too low, I'm not sure. We'll probably have to do a little more research, a little more work to find out what a reasonable rate is. If 4 1/4 isn't, that's some work to do. But the question here is, do you want us to continue with a fixed commercial rate in the unincorporated area? Do you want to open it up and let the haulers bid the commercial and the residential rates? Or do you want to increase that commercial rate to a higher level that's more consistent with what it is in the rest of the county? So that's an open discussion. We don't have to decide today on that, but that's just one of those issues that before we get to the August board meeting, we're going to have to settle on. So,
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. Chair, do we know what the rates are within the municipalities that do their own collection for commercial?
Yeah, we do in some cases, but we can always get them.
Okay. So I think that would be helpful for the commercial, for us to be able to, if we're going to set a new rate, what are the cities charging for commercial?
Okay.
All right, Paul?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Powell,
Thank you.
is your light working? The little white.
We didn't get training, so we don't know.
So,
This button right here?
yes, you should have a button on the little box.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Perfect. The other question is, to Mr. Pelowitz, what about what the other counties are charging in terms of their collection for commercial?
We can look at that as well. We do know what our haulers are charging in the county, and the rates are generally double what we are or more. So we can also check with other counties. Again, what others are charging may not be realistic, but certainly it is valuable information. Between now and the next board meeting, we'll come back with a wider set of rates on the commercial.
Commissioner Flores.
Thank you. I just want to confirm that there's a direct correlation with commercial pricing to then residential, so that if we do increase the commercial pricing, that in fact it is going to reduce residential. Is that accurate or no?
That is generally accurate, yes. Obviously, the haulers determine what their bids are, and so they're looking at the total business and ultimately trying to establish or bid rates is going to provide them with revenues as a whole that are going to cover their costs and give them a profit. So generally speaking, yes, if you increase the commercial rate, you will see a reduction in the residential. That said, there are some areas that have more commercial than others, and so that effect varies countywide. For example, the western areas have less commercial than the eastern corridor does. So if you're living in the acreage or Jupiter Farms, there's very little commercial to help to subsidize the residential. So it won't make that big a difference in those areas, but in the more urbanized areas to the east, it certainly will.
Okay, thank you.
I do not see any more lights. The fixed rate that we currently have now it still kind of subsidizes residential, does it not? The way the system is set up currently? If
So-
I'm understanding what you were explaining.
When we first implemented it in 2013, because I ran the numbers then, and it still did.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it does now at the $4.30 rate, I don't know. I'm not sure. We're going to do some math. We're going to go take a look at some things to try and determine where that is. In the past, we set the rate because I actually asked the haulers to provide their operational data, and then we looked at their operational data and did some assumptions, and we actually calculated what we thought a reasonable rate was. Haulers are not always willing to share that data, but I think we can take a look at it. We obviously don't want to be the lowest people in town when it comes to those rates, I guess. But if you don't want to subsidize, then we actually have to do a real study. And I've done it before. We can do it. But my belief right now is, what I can tell you right now is I don't know whether the commercial is subsidizing the residential anymore, or the residential is subsidizing the commercial. So we do need to take a look at that.
I personally think the way it's been has been okay. I don't like the idea of trying to get commercial. People forget they're small businesses. You know, commercial isn't just big people with a lot of money. And as a small business owner, our costs have gone through the roof. So, you know, this is just one more thing to go extremely high. So I don't know that I think it's been okay so far, but I do hesitate to put more burden on business, who is our economic driver. It's a balance, right? So you're saying you would need to do a study to look at that?
Well, I would need to gather some data in terms of route productivity, payroll costs, equipment operating expenses, that sort of thing, so that we can calculate it. It's not overly complicated, but it's something that it would basically put us in a position of trying to go out and do some analysis, try and understand what a fair and reasonable commercial rate should be.
Okay.
And go with that. So, I mean, we can do that.
Well, so if we're waiting for that information, then we're not giving direction today then?
Yeah, what I would say today is that the direction I'm taking is we need to go out and look at what the cities what the cities are charging, look at what some other counties are charging who are doing it, get some more data on what the other rates around the county are, and take a look at that and come back with any numbers we have to justify whether the rate we're charging, the way we're doing it, is either subsidized, so that the board has more information to be able to make a decision. If that sounds
good.
fair.
Any other comments? I see none. So moving on to, did we have a card on this? Oh, the rest
Still
of
more
presentation?
presentation,
Yes.
Okay.
So another topic that Waste Management discussed was, can the ancillary rates be adjusted to account for the rising costs as they are currently fixed? Additionally, is it possible to modify the ITB or the RFP to include an initial 7-year term with an option for a 7-year extension? And just for point of reference, some of the ancillary rates are the at-door service fees, the rolling out container fees, installing locks, and unlocking containers are some of the fixed costs that we have in the current contract. SWA responded that it is not possible at this time to include any extension in the initial 7-year term. So staff asked if any haulers experienced any issues with SMWBE availability or usage. Waste Management state there are additional costs associated with high levels of SMWBE participation, but they do support the program. Currently, we have a 20% participation requirement in our contracts for SWBE subcontractors. Coastal suggested that revising the container pricing to reflect the recent cost increase. So these are also fixed rates currently, like our 2-yard container that the haulers provide, our $24 a month maintenance fee, up to the 8-yard container, which is $32 a month maintenance fee. For collection, Waste Management suggested carded yard waste because it helps with their volume control. They also suggested converting from the dual stream to single stream recycling to reduce the maintenance costs and labor costs. SWA staff inquired about the use of AI cameras to identify contamination and recycling. The haulers explained that the technology can pinpoint the address where the contamination occurred, but the haulers also raised concern about how the county would enforce corrective plans. In response to previous supply chain issues, staff asked if the time frame for purchasing equipment is still sufficient, assuming the solicitation is advertised fall of this year. The current haulers and potential bidders said that the proposed schedule duration is sufficient for purchasing the equipment. So this is this is an overview of the current or the service area that we're proposing, moving service area 6 out of the current service area 2 and putting it to the top part of service area 3. The following is the suggested. We propose creating a new service area 6 by merging the current service area 6 with the current service area 2 east and redraw service area 2 boundaries to reflect the map on the previous slide. We propose moving service area 6 to the northern portion of the current service area 3. The unit sizes and scopes between the current and proposed service area 6 are comparable. As you can see, the chart displays what the current and proposed unit counts would be. As far as maintain, we would ask that we maintain an independent MWBE service area. We would continue service area 6 as its own service area exclusively for MWBE firms. Maintain the EBO program's goals. We would ask to remove the joint venture requirement and ask the board to review and establish eligibility criteria. Currently, for Service Area 6, the requirements are the proposer must be a certified MWBE firm or joint venture with a certified SMWBE partner. All MWBE prime contractors, joint venture partners, SMWBE contractors, and suppliers must be certified by the bid proposal due date. Proposed changes, in addition to the above, the primes will be required to have an office in Palm Beach County by October 1st, 2026, and we're asking the joint venture requirement to be removed.
So I'm going to just insert a little bit here in terms of the timing of when they have an office. So our program, our Equal Business Opportunity Program, is a Palm Beach County program. So in order to be considered certified and eligible for preference in Palm Beach County in our program, the firm has to have an office or a significant business presence in the county in order to do that. So they have to be both certified, but they have to have an office here. The question with these hauler contracts has always been, at what point do you require them to have an office? Because if you want real competition, you want to encourage people who are currently not here potentially to bid here. And so in the past we could basically say, as of the bid due date, you need to have an office presence here, or you could say you have to have it by the time the service starts, which is October 1, 2026. It's a little bit of a challenge because this is unique, because in order to actually perform the service here, you have to be here. It's not like you could be a consulting firm sitting in Orlando and you're doing a consulting job in Palm Beach County where you do everything over the phone or over the computer and all of that. To pick up solid waste in front of somebody's house, you actually have to be here. So what we're suggesting here is relaxing the date at which they actually have to have a physical location in the county to the date the service begins. The only challenge there is what you do if somebody doesn't. I mean, you've got a bond, you've got a bid bond, you've got remedies. You don't want to get in that situation. But in any case, whatever we decide we're going to do, we need to communicate it as soon as possible, because these bids are going out on the street probably in September, and you want anyone who's interested in proposing, bidding, working as a sub or a prime on this project, you want them to know at which point they need to have a physical location in the county. And letting them know earlier rather than later helps everybody out, as opposed to as opposed to later on in the process, and they'll claim they didn't actually have time or things like that. So it's really about trying to make the program work, but also trying to make sure that someone coming in to provide these services has an opportunity to do what they need to do up front before the bid goes out.
Mr. Pellets, we have a few questions.
I'm sure you do.
Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not Vice Mayor, but Chair. Mr. Pelowitz, could they have a registered agent if they don't have a physical? They could have a physical presence here, but should the requirement not be that they have a registered agent in the county so that they could be sued or held responsible for any issues that may arise? Maybe that's a lawyer's thing.
That's a legal question. I don't know
thing?
where the registered agent has to be.
I mean, they could, but I mean, it seems like there's, from staff's perspective, you would want an actual office within the county. I mean, we can talk about that, but a registered agent is usually just a lawyer or somebody that just receives service, as you said. I mean, under the the EBO provisions, they have to provide commercially useful function, and there's certainly, I think, a benefit of, especially in this kind of contract, of them actually having an office within Palm Beach County.
Would it then, if I may follow through, would it then be safe to say they should have a physical presence here as well as a registered agent so that we could get, I mean, they could have an office here, but they could have a registered agent in the state of New York or something. It'd be difficult to say.
So,
I'm thinking of service of process and liability.
Sure. Under the Florida corporate law, if they're a Florida corporation, they're going to have a registered agent within Florida.
Right.
If they're a foreign corporation, they're supposed to register and have one within Florida. Some of them don't always, but I mean, this would obviously be a sort of a contractual requirement that we would have, that we'd be looking at to make sure that they have one.
As long as that's a contractual part of this requirement, then I feel good about it. Just want to be able to sue somebody if something goes wrong and they have insurance and everything. So appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Pellis. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, so I am definitely in favor of the competitive process. So if anything that we could do to stimulate that, that would, to me, would be ideal. I would be okay with them having a place by the start of their contract, but it should be a requirement that they do have a place. However, that it's at the start of, because it's hard as a business owner to make a financial commitment into a place that you're not guaranteed. That's a losing proposition, and I think it would turn a lot of people off from bidding. So if we change that to be the start of the contract, I'm okay with that. But I do want to make sure that they do have a place here. So however we can put our teeth into that, that would be important to me. And then I want to go one slide backwards here, if we may. You're recommending that we remove joint venture requirement. I understand that you had a past experience that didn't work out well. Could you speak about that?
Yes, of course. So in the previous contract, this contract went out right after the EBO program was implemented. And a requirement in the EBO program at the time for these hauling contracts was for a joint venture. So we did have a firm that came in, the Good Company, with a joint venture partner, which was a staffing company. The issue with the joint venture that we had was somebody has to be in charge. And when you have a joint venture partners who are equally in charge, we were getting direction from different joint venture partners about what was done, how this was going to function, and it became a problem. In short, we went through 2 rounds of mediation. They ended up in litigation, and it went on for the better part of 3 years. And so we just believe joint ventures within the context of a solid waste hauling agreement don't really work. And the one issue we ran into with this one was the staff was supposed to be supplied by one joint venture partner, but the operation managed by the other joint venture partner, including providing all of the equipment. That really, someone has to be directing somebody, and that really just doesn't work. So what we're recommending instead is to remove the joint venture requirement. If someone wants to be a joint venture, they can, but to also allow a prime subcontractor arrangement that it basically achieves the same thing. So,
Excellent. I would also be in favor of removing the joint venture requirement. Thank you.
Next, we have Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions on the office. I do agree that we shouldn't require them at the bid part because, getting a location when you're just bidding that's a pretty big ask. I'd rather have a wider pool to choose from. My question first is about the purpose of the office. Is this meant for like the truck parking? Is this customer service or dispatch? Is that up to the business?
Yes, so what we're requiring really is, at a minimum, it has to be the customer service center office where they actually have people that can field our calls and where we can go to that office and audit their records. Because one of the requirements of this contract is, A, ensuring compliance with the EBO program, which means we have a right to inspect their records, but also ensuring compliance with all of our rules that we have governing where waste is taken and how it's hauled. And so we have to be able to go to those offices, go through their load tickets, go through their records, and ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So at a minimum, it needs to be that. Most of the haulers actually have an equipment yard in the county. We relaxed that. We used to require it, but we relaxed it years ago because there's a major waste hauler that has a yard in Martin County, and they wanted to service North County out of that Martin County office, and we didn't see any reason why we would not allow that. So at the present time, they are not required to have an equipment yard in Palm Beach County, but they are required to have the customer service office in Palm Beach County.
Follow up? Yes. Okay. I agree with removing the joint venture. I did want to ask, as far as the date, though, if October 1st is when the service is meant to begin, would it behoove us to maybe put like a 15 days before or something, so at least, there's a little bit of establishment before they actually are servicing the area?
We can do that. So we could incorporate that into their I don't know the precise word for it, but we require them to meet certain milestones once they're awarded the contract. Okay. So that includes identifying their equipment purchases and notifying they've got all those done, achieving their hiring timetable, sending out notices that need to be put out in every home. All of these we could incorporate some milestones related to the siting of an office into that schedule.
Okay. When would the award be issued and then the service is starting? So
the award is typically done at the February board meeting, so it'd be February 2026, and that gives them roughly 6 months to ramp up. Okay. If there's a bid protest or something like that, that's usually will take place in April, and that may delay one service area or another, but that's the timetable usually.
Okay, the rest of the board can pipe in. I'd like a little bit of a buffer between them having a physical location and starting the service, because I would hate for us to get to October 1 and then be like, oh no, we couldn't find a spot. So maybe 30 days or the rest of the board can pipe in, but I don't want to wait till October 1.
Next, I have Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as it relates to location, I think they should have a location here. I also have no issue with them having it in advance. We're talking. I think the other thing to think about is potentially a significant penalty if they're not in compliance by the time the contract starts. So that would disincentivize or incentivize them to get it done in advance if they knew there was a substantial cost that they were going to have to pay for missing that. I would prefer to have the trucks here. I mean, I understand, and if somebody were to have a location and they were servicing the North County and it was just right across the county line, that certainly makes sense. But the idea of people bringing trucks in from other counties and driving across all the roadways to get to the service area that they're doing, I don't think is beneficial to our residents or businesses having trucks on the road for additional mileage if we can at all avoid it. Let's see. Yeah, and I like the idea of having the records kept within the county, so that if in fact you're going out and inspecting them, you're not, because potentially they could then be out of state, and it could get very expensive and time consuming for folks at Solid Waste Authority. So I like having that. So those are my comments so far.
Next, we have Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to the removal of the joint venture, Mr. Pelowitz indicating that would be done so that it would show someone needs to be in charge, but it doesn't eliminate the opportunity for them to do a joint venture. Is there a way that we can see maybe an example of what language would look like in a contract if that were to go forward, just so we make sure we're not leaving anything off the table? But I agree that somebody should be in charge when you start asking stuff and keep us out of litigation. And that's the only thing that I would like to kind of be aware of as we move forward. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner. So we will provide you, before we get to August, of the contract, drafts of the contract, of all the bid documents, and we will highlight the specific language that relates to that. But our objective would not be to preclude a joint venture.
Mayor Marino.
Thank you. Yes, I agree that I think there should be at least a 30-day move-in before the October 1st date in 2026. I do like the redrawing for the new SA6, because we've asked for that so that we could help balance the cost to our residents. I don't have a problem with the joint venture, and it is a requirement that they be in county. I'm not so sure. I'm worried about the equipment being stationed here. I mean, Waste Management is a perfect example. Their headquarters are just over the county line up in Martin County, and I don't think, I'm not so sure that that's a necessity. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go last. I do favor the new service area, so thank you. I do. I like all of your recommendations. I do have a few questions. The requirement of an office in the county, I like it, but to your point, is it necessary to require it? Because how are you going to be here, do the business, and not have one?
Well, it really goes to a requirement on our purchasing manual as it relates to the EBO program.
Mm-hmm.
So our EBO program, which was established by the board, and the parameters are established by the board, requires that for anyone to receive preference under our SMWBE program, they have to be a local certified firm. And local is determined by basically having that business tax receipt, or whatever they call it now. So the only reason the board has the ability to modify its own program.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would basically be making an exception in this case to have a later date than we would normally require, which the board can do. And in fact, in the last contract for the last bid, the board determined that there are some cases where you don't actually have to have a physical location in the county, but you have to have a significant business presence. And so that was a case with a fuel supplier that was, I guess, in Broward County, who had numerous clients in Palm Beach County, provided fuel in Palm Beach County with their trucks or whatever, but actually didn't have a physical address in the county, and the board said that's okay. So this is a case where if you direct us to, we'll allow the date that they have to have that physical location in the county be later than it normally is.
No, and I support that absolutely, because I think that would be easier. And I don't mind the idea of a buffer either of that 30 days, just to make sure they're established. I'm not a huge fan of, I don't know what we're looking at as far as penalties go, but I don't know how I feel about that one. But as far as the buffer goes, I like that. And so to the equipment, I don't think it's necessary that they're here, especially if they're right over the line. Do we have kind of a distance of where that may or may not fall?
We don't, but in operational reality, if they're too far away, that's just not going to work. It's going to get too expensive. So
kind of
I think it's self-policing in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so those are my comments. Commissioner Flores.
So to me, it is important that they're here, because that means that they're hiring local talent to run their operations, to wash their vehicles, to do maintenance of their vehicles. They're most likely going to hire local when they're just across the border. They're probably not going to hire our people. And I think we have to be conscious that we are representing our residents and constituents of Palm Beach County, and we should give our people the most opportunities to have jobs here. They're also purchasing the gas, the fuel from in a different county. So I'm assuming they're not paying the county taxes. So I just want to be fair to, if you're going to do business in Palm Beach County, I want you to be in Palm Beach County. My personal opinion.
Some perspective, Commissioner. So if fuel is cheaper in Martin County, then they might be able to give us cheaper rates here. And I don't think that, especially with this kind of job, it's so specialized. It's not like a restaurant that's going to hire somebody within, so many miles. This is a very specialized area, I think, where people, if they're coming to Palm Beach County, they're probably, in my opinion, going to stay, I guess, with that company. I mean, they already have people. Our people bidding on these contracts already have workers. They already have employees already set in place, whether they're right across the Martin County line. As somebody who drove to another county for work for years, that happens all the time. So I don't know that I agree of requiring equipment here. And I think, was it Mayor Marino, did you say that it already, Waste Authority, or excuse me, one of our contracted companies, Waste Management, is already in Martin County?
Bridge Road.
Yes, they are, but they also have yards in Palm Beach County too.
In Palm Beach County. So
They've
I guess my question is, if we change that, which I don't want to do, would that impact those contracts as well?
I'm not sure. So, I'm not sure. I don't know where Waste Management is on that. They're the only one I know so far, but we have had interest from a company in Broward County and servicing in Palm Beach County. I believe Panzarella, is interested, and obviously they would be one who would potentially be impacted by a decision to require a yard in the county, but I don't know what their plans are either. So this is one of those things where we could table it and bring it back to you with a set of key decisions that need to be made, and just make those decisions maybe in April or June, all in one, so that we can have everyone can be fully informed, and we can have a full discussion with the board on and a vote on each and every one of those things.
Thank you. Mayor Marino.
Thank you. When you said a large presence, what did you consider? What is considered a large presence? Because for me, I think just having an office with folks that are doing the customer service, and we're able to go in and see their books, I think that's an ideal solution. I don't see requiring them to have a physical presence here, because that's an addition. If they're not already here, that's an additional burden that they're going to have to tackle, and then that additional cost is then going to be put on our residents and our businesses. So, you know, it's sort of the chicken or the egg thing. Yes, they might be here physically, but what does it do to the cost of the fee? And I don't want to see that being something that impacts our residents. And also, I mean, if you are a SMWBE, the whole idea of this program is to have our local SMWBEs here, so they should have an office here. If they don't have an office here, then they're not county people. So those are my opinions.
Thank you. I'm just going to add on to that a little bit. I do agree. I like the idea of the office here, but all the equipment. And an office job is more clerical. I think it helps us, so to Commissioner Flores' point, to bring in local jobs to that. I think the equipment part of it is very, especially if we're talking maintenance, it's a very specialized area. So, but next up we have Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you so much. I think we're all talking about the same thing. We're talking about a local office, which could be in a strip shopping mall, but it's a physical location. When we're talking about equipment, we have no land really left for trucks and equipment. Hendry County does. Martin County does. Cuts down on the costs, and I understand. I think we're just on the same page. Mm-hmm. We want to have a local office, physical office, a registered agent here. But look, I have no land, and I have haulers all over the side of the turnpike. Yeah, not our people, but they're parked illegally there. So sure, let's share the space with our neighbor counties. So I think, and we can table this reviewed a little bit, but I think we're all on the same page. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I agree, and thank you about the land part of this, Commissioner Flores.
Just FYI, we have a lot of land.
Not for trucks.
Oh, we have plenty of land. My point is, I'm not asking to change any language. I'm just saying to keep it the same. My only ask is that we give that the competitive process the time to be able to come in after they submit for the bid. That's all I've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is everything clear, Dan? Do you need?
Yeah, on these items, it's clear. We'll take from this. We know what the different positions are, and what we'll come forward to you with at a future date is just a list of final decisions where we can just vote on each and every one of them down the line. But at least knowing what the options are and what this board views as the alternatives is helpful.
Thank you. And we are still on this presentation.
Yes, Madam Chair. And if I may, our current haulers all have a presence in the county. They all have a yard. And I'd be reluctant if I did not say this, because it's going to be my team that fields these calls. If we have a hauler that wins a bid, let's say in District 1, which is North County, their yard is in Broward. If a truck breaks down in District 1, they have to dispatch a mechanic. Maybe they have one out there already, but they have to bring that truck over an hour back to the yard to then get another truck and drive another hour back on route. That puts that route behind by 2, maybe 3 hours, and it doesn't get finished. And then we get the calls. So I just wanted to put that into perspective, because my folks would kill me if I didn't tell you that. So, but yeah, it's just the haulers are more likely to get yards in the Palm Beach County just because of the logistic part of it as well. So lastly, with the requirements, compliance must align with the SWA's EBO program policy, and as mentioned, certified firms must perform a commercially useful function as per the purchasing manual. This slide is an enhanced view of our proposed Service Area 6, which is within the northern portion of Service Area 3, boundaries of which are High Palexo Road to the north, Boynton Beach Boulevard to the south, east to the coastline, west to the Florida Turnpike. The Service Area 5 contract options. So South Bay's contract expires this year, and they anticipate advertising their solicitation yesterday, February 11th. The solicitation is to be advertised on the 11th with a tentative award date sometime in June. If the bid prices are not favorable, we suggest we integrate Service Area 5 with Service Area 2 and include in the upcoming bid as a unified service contract.
All right, I'm just going to explain here a little bit. The South Bay solicitation has not gone on the street yet. So the purpose of the South Bay solicitation using is we currently do piggyback the South Bay bid because it's financially advantageous to the residents out there. Much lower rates. There's about, 1,200 units out there, and we've bid it in the past, and the numbers are crazy. They're basically paying half of what they otherwise would pay if we bid it as a standalone. So we want to see the South Bay rate so that you can make a decision as to whether you want to use it or not. But if it's not available by the June board meeting, we may have to make a decision to get with Waste Management, or WM now, and roll Service Area 5 into Service Area 2 into that contract for the final year of the contract, and then bid that as one contiguous service area. And we've bid that as one contiguous service area in the past. So it's not like it hasn't been done. So that's just the advice. So right now we're in a wait and see on South Bay. Hopefully they get it done and the numbers come back and they're favorable and you like them, in which case we can just continue doing it that way.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, we're seeking board approval for the proposed location of Service Area 6 and proposed change to require a local office by October 1 of 2026. And we're also seeking board input for yard waste limits and related
Excuse me, Paul.
services.
Commissioner Flores has a question.
We can let him finish. And then.
Okay.
And lastly, the Service Area 5 Cooperative Purchase Agreement. Now I'll take any questions.
Commissioner Flores.
So when I was doing my agenda review, I was talking to Mr. Pelowitz about the yard waste. One of the things that he brought up is that landscaping companies can technically dump the yard waste in the curb instead of taking and hauling it away, and that currently the county doesn't have an ordinance that prohibits that. So to me, it makes sense that not in this body here, but that we consider passing an ordinance as a board prohibiting landscapers dumping the waste on the curb rather than hauling it away like they're supposed to. So I'm just putting that out there. I thought that made sense to me, and it should be part of the solution. So that way, now the burden is not on that resident to try to get rid of that. You know, if they're over that 6 cubic yards.
Yeah, so I mentioned that because that is an ordinance in other places. And one of the issues we run into sometimes is when these really big piles are sitting out there, we find out that they hired someone and they put it there saying that, well, you might put it here because the Solid Waste Authority will pick it up, which isn't necessarily true if it's a giant pile. And that's one way to alleviate that problem is to ensure that it's hauled away. So whenever I hire somebody at my house to cut back my trees, I make sure I stipulate you're going to haul it away. And they either chip it or haul it. So that's just an option out there to help alleviate some of these issues with the big piles. If someone's contracting with someone to do it, then maybe require that they take it away. But this is part of the further discussion about what we're going to do with yard waste, because the one thing we haven't talked about is yard waste yet and our current 6-yard limit. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Pelowitz, how would we enforce that?
How would we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at how other counties do it. I would imagine through code.
I think that would be a huge burden for something that I can't imagine making someone sit there to see who is putting it out to the curb. I mean, and really, people get creative, especially my area. If they wanted to, they could have them pile it up in their yard and carry it out themselves. So this seems kind of ridiculous, honestly, to make a whole ordinance for something that's potentially not enforceable. I would say I'm not in favor of that. As somebody who does take out their own yard waste quite a bit. I think it is on the residents, and if we'd want to send reminders to them to, if you have a landscaper or a landscape person doing your yard work, to ask them that, that's fine. Or that if they are leaving a pile that is 6 cubic yards, but at the end of the day, they are paying for services. So this was a suggestion you were suggested to the commissioner?
No, I've just said it's an option. And it's an option because it is an issue. And typically when they're leaving the pile, it's not a little one. It's a big one. And
But if it's bigger than the allowed amount, aren't we discussing that now, what we want to do with that?
exactly, but that puts us in a position of having to tag the pile and then deal with the resident and go back and forth on getting this pile removed when they obviously hired somebody to begin with because they don't have the ability to do it themselves. And so that's really where this comes from.
And so now we're going after our retired community?
No, we're not going after
Who can't do it themselves? Who
What I'm
can't put
saying
it out
is
there?
what I'm saying is that you hire a landscaper like I do when I've got a really big job that I can't do myself. And if the landscaper and the resident doesn't know, and the landscaper is saying, well, just put it at the curb because the Solid Waste Authority will come by and pick it up, and then we have to tell the resident, no, that's not the case. You're limited to 6 yards. Then we're in a back and forth, and understand generally we work with the resident and we get it taken care of. But you can eliminate a lot of that simply by doing this. And I'm only mentioned it because it is done in other places. It is done in other places.
I'm going to let Commissioner Sachs speak.
Thanks, Chair. I live in an acreage area, and our Solid Waste Authority knows when we have more than our usual 6 cubic. We have a lot of trash out there. We have a lot of foliage. A landscaping company is charging the person that they're taking care of their landscape a fee for disposing properly of that foliage. And some of them try to get away with this issue by charging you and then dumping the stuff in front of your yard so that then you get the tag from Solid Waste Authority. And look at those haulers know what's been happening here. So look, a landscaping company is doing business, making money here from our people. They've got to know. It's the same thing with horse manure and the dumping of horse manure. They have to know what to do with the foliage, with the landscaping foliage. And if they don't, they shouldn't be in business here because there's proper ways to dump. And that's part of the fee. It's not cheap. It's part of the fee. So I feel like when we discuss this at a later date, that we need to look at it carefully because our senior citizens, they don't have to worry about it because they have an HOA or a condo. But I live in an area where we do have a lot of foliage. We have a lot of acreage, but we're right up against St. Andrews Country Club. And I can assure you that St. Andrews Country Club landscape companies are not dumping it in front of their place. So I think that we're all in agreement on this, and it'll be okay. We just want to make sure that landscaping companies follow the rules, and that is proper disposal of the landscape that they are charging us for. So, but we can look at this at a later date.
Point of order.
Thank you.
This discussion, while very interesting, belongs at a county commission meeting. That's who has jurisdiction over any county ordinances. So I would suggest this gets tabled and brought up if somebody wants to bring it up at a county commission meeting. This is not a Solid Waste Authority issue.
You said agreed. Are you seconding his?
I don't have to second his point of order, but yes, I would agree that this is something that we need to do at a board meeting, at a BCC meeting, not a Solid Waste Authority. So I think a continuing of this discussion is off what we need to be doing for business here today.
Okay. Did you still want to speak, Commissioner?
To be clear, what would need to come back to the board would be discussion of an ordinance. As far as the pricing, am I to understand, because you have seeking board input here, for yard waste limits and related services, and then the service area 5, it says future meeting. So is there any part of the action on today, or is this just letting us know in a future meeting we will be discussing yard waste?
There are no hard decisions that need to be made today. I think the consensus of the board, if I will, is that moving the service area 6 to the new area is desirable on the part of the board, and we'll move forward with that.
And can we amend the date, because it says October 1st, and I think, did we agree on 30 days before?
Is it the consensus of the board that 30 days before the October 1st would be the date that the yard would have to be in place?
And then as far as the items 3 and 4, seeking board input, are you no longer seeking those board inputs? Would that be a future meeting?
That would be a future meeting, but I think depending on time, if the board wishes to, we do need to have discussions about the yard waste at some point in time. Do we want to stay with the 6-yard limit? Do we want to address a larger limit, maybe 12 yards? Do we want to do it in isolated areas? Or do we want to, and the bigger questions are, do we want to include it in the base rate? Or do we want to provide a mechanism for people who need it to pay for it separately?
Go ahead.
Either through the hauler or through some other mechanism. Those are the questions we have to have answered before August.
So, and this would be, if we were to raise the limit for a certain service area, which, I mean, I'm assuming that would be, is that service area 5? Because are we rearranging that so that the larger acreage lots would all be in the same service area?
Well, the service area where the large acreage lots are included in
Service area
larger
1.
service areas. So you have service area 1, which has Jupiter Farms, and then you have service area 2, which has Loxahatchee acreage, and each of those service areas also has eastern areas. So
if we were to raise the limit in just those 2 areas, when it goes to negotiate with the hauler, then they would know that we're negotiating a higher limit. Is that part of what this discussion, and could we get information from them on if we were to raise the limits, what that would do to the prices?
So if we were to do that, we would put it in the bid documents to specify that those areas have a higher limit, and the haulers would bid to it. Now, one thing you can do that others have done is you could have them bid it 2 ways, which is complicated. We don't prefer it, but it's been done. You could have them bid it at 6 yards and at 12 yards, and then at that point in time, the board can make a decision as to what they want to award. You could do that too. The alternative, as we've talked about, is that you could either provide a subscription service where individual households decide they want the higher limit, and we have the haulers bid a fee, or alternatively, we can set it for that additional higher level of service and provide that on a house-by-house basis and make the haulers track that. And the alternative, obviously, to that is the rate, what we currently do, which is the $8 a cubic yard rate. So there's a lot of options the board has if it wants to provide a higher level of service.
Do we still have the numbers on those areas that go over the 6-yard limit? I mean, what's percentage-wise, how many of those service areas are routinely going over? I know we have the numbers for whether or not they would want to pay more or anything, but do we happen to know how many actually do go over and get flagged?
We don't know the exact number, but we can pull a report that shows a number of estimates, which we would assume is for the more than 6 cubic yard. So I can pull a report by district to see how many are requesting these estimates, and that would give us a broad picture of who's going over in the percentage-wise.
I think that would be beneficial for us because, I mean, if we're not talking a large number of residents, I would hate for us to bid it out for everyone to have to pay for 12 yards or something. And I would prefer more kind of having a, individual case by case. If they go over by a large amount, then we would need to charge for that, or the hauler would need to flag it in some way. I mean, I live in a city that does that to us, and it's happened, I think, twice in 10 years, but, it happens on occasion. And, I wouldn't want to have to pay a higher rate all the time if I'm only going to have this incident happen a few times. So I think that information would be important before we were to make a decision on this.
Yeah, we can put that together.
Just a point on the flagged. So this has been going on in the acreage Loxahatchee area for a while. And so because of the flagging, you're not going to find as many now because they've kind of been conditioned not to. So I don't know even if that information is brought back to us that it would be.
So is the flagging then working?
They're still hating it. They're still complaining about it. But is it working? Are they happy with it? No. I mean, 1.25 acres is a lot of land to try to clear and stay within 6 cubic yards. So anyways, that's why it was brought up, and looking at the numbers would be very helpful for us to see what that is. I mean, are we talking $5 or are we talking, 10? What does that look like? But I will let Commissioner Flores speak.
So I kind of want to echo Commissioner Woodward's comments. I'm more in favor of the subscription, and you pay as you go if you need that service, so that we're not burdening the entire county to pay for a service that they're not going to be utilizing. So that's my opinion. I think if you choose to live out there, you're getting over 1 acre piece of property, you sort of know what you're signing up for, that you're going to have that land to clear every single month or whatever, how often it is. But most of our residents are probably not going to get anywhere near that, maybe once a year. So thank you.
Thank you. Dan, does this apply to every service area or just individual service areas where it exists?
That would be up to you as a board to determine that as to.
Currently, what is it?
Currently, the 6-yard limit applies everywhere. And
no, what I mean is if there was an increase in collection to the larger lot areas, would that be different?
Then the question would be, do you want to do it in certain service areas alone?
Mm-hmm.
So say service areas 1 and 2, but not 3, 4, 5, and 6, because 3, 4 are all South County, small lots, low generators. They probably don't need it, except in really, really sporadic cases. 6 is where the new 6 is eastern, so there may be some large lots in there, but most of them aren't. Service area 5 is in the Glades. I don't think it's necessary out there. There's not a huge amount of edge out there. So if you were going to do it, recognizing that, if you don't do it on a subscription type basis, you're looking at higher rates that they're going to bid. You would do it in service areas 1 and 2. Recognizing, though, that there are eastern areas in those communities, too, and they may or may not want it. So what we're trying to do is, our job here is to give the public the service they want, and they're willing to pay for. So information I'm giving you on this is basically in an effort to ensure that people get the lowest possible rates for the service that they want. And that's the only reason. And once we bid it and the numbers come in, it's kind of too late to make a decision to go in a different direction. So this is something we have to kind of. This is not the easy. This is the hardest decision we have every time we put these things out to bid. Is what we're doing with yard waste. So we don't need a perfect answer today.
I think our compromise, though, wasn't it to at least not just leave the 6 cubic yards there anymore?
So the compromise that we talked about last time was there was one recommendation, I think, and I think one of the haulers said it, where is if someone puts out a 12-yard pile, that we take the whole pile, and then their solution was that we get billed for it, which means then we have to budget for it, as opposed to the resident paying for it. So they were saying, yeah, it's 6, but we'll pick up to 12, and we'll back bill the authority for the extra volume. That was one suggestion that was made. With respect to the 6 yards, I think the issue we were talking about then was that currently, if they have a pile bigger than 6 yards, say it's 20 yards, they pay $8 a yard times 20 yards to cover the cost. What the board suggests is they should be getting credit for the first 6 because they're already paying for it.
Well, and not just leaving the pile there.
Well, like I said, as it is now, our current rule is If the pile exceeds 6 cubic yards, it's left and it's tagged. That's the rule. And the reason why is because in the past, we used to take the 6 yards and leave the rest. And then we were in constant arguments with residents. Well, they'd say, well, you didn't take 6, they only took 4. And that would turn into a problem. And then they'd still have the pile left, and they come in the next week and put more on it, and now they're over again. And so that was one of the issues that we tried to resolve the last time by saying, okay, if it's more than 6, they're going to leave the whole pile. But again, it's up to the board to make a
But we
decision.
had discussed this and already gave direction on this. It said not to leave the 6 cubic yards just sitting there. They are paying for that service of removing 6 cubic yards.
We've looked at that direction was, to my mind, was not provided. If I missed it, that's on me. But I think the direction was for the excess big piles is to only apply the excess fee to the excess material.
And then are we billing them separately?
So what happens is the hauler, they pay the hauler for the excess. So we get we facilitate it. We get with the hauler, get the two parties together. They get an estimate from the hauler. They agree to the estimate, and then the resident pays the hauler.
Commissioner Powell, I haven't forgotten about you, so forgive me. I know you've been down there a while, but this is an issue. I promise I will get to you. We have all these. So what you're asking is of a resident who potentially works 5 days a week to then call the hauler, schedule them to come out, give an estimate and a price, and then have it collected.
That's essentially how it works today.
And that could potentially be up to once a month if they have that much vegetation removal.
I don't know that it is. It generally isn't the same person 4 times in a month. But that's the way the current system was set up. So the current system is it gets tagged.
And to the point of what people knew that when they moved out there, actually when I moved out there, we were allowed to put, and it was fine, 6 cubic individual piles of up to 6 cubic yards, and then you would leave them there, and then the next week they would collect the next one, and the next week the next one, because most people don't do their vegetation removal once a week. And so that's why when Commissioner Bernard was here, he had also supported when I say we did give direction. They're already providing the service, they're already there to at least remove the 6 cubic yards. But you're saying we're still just going to leave it there?
What I'm telling you is that's our current program. And that program runs through September 30th of 2026. In the new contract, we can do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
And you can recommend a different system. The board can approve a different system for doing it. I'm open to whatever it is the board wants to do. So I'm not weighing in with a preference here on how to deal with this issue. I'm only simply trying to provide enough information so that we can balance service with cost.
Okay. Commissioner Powell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 points. Number one, Mr. Pelowitz, when you called all the districts, I just want to make sure you mention 7. Although we're east of 95, we shouldn't be impacted, but mainly east of 95, but people of District 7.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 points. Number one, Mr. Pelowitz, when you called all the districts, I just want to make sure you mention 7. Although we're east of 95, we shouldn't be impacted, but mainly east of 95, but people of District 7.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't more specific. I was referencing our service area districts, not commission districts.
Okay, perfect. The second thing is the question that Commissioner Woodward asked, if it's tagged and left, and the response was you can see which areas have asked for higher levels. Is there no mechanism where they're recording who has been tagged and who has been flagged, and that's not done on there's no chart? So are you saying that if you flag me, I can then come out and just remove the X or whatever and take part of the trash away and hide it and then come back and you won't know that you flagged me previously? I mean, there's no tracking mechanism?
No, not with the haulers. It's more of an educational system. Most residents aren't aware of the 6 cubic yard limit and what exactly is 6 cubic yards. So when they put out a pile that's over 6 cubic yards, the hauler will then leave a tag with instructions and information on that tag, basically letting them know that you're over 6 cubic yards. There's a couple options. Okay. You can request an estimate, or let's say you got like 10 yards out, or you can remove 4 yards off of that pile. You can put it back on your property, and the resident doesn't have to pay anything additional. And then they'll just put out the excess the following week, and they'll get it collected. But it's been used mostly as an educational tool, and as Commissioner Baxter said, most people have conformed, and so there's going to be a proportion of people out there who may want the additional service, but we can't capture that information because they've conformed to the new process. And also because it's not just our current agreement, but there's an ordinance in place as well. That's why whenever someone puts out more than 6 cubic yards, the ordinance instructs that the haulers not to touch that pile. The entire pile currently will receive an estimate. So I just wanted to also include that information.
If I could follow up just a little bit, we do have records once someone calls us. Once someone calls us because they've been tagged, we do have a record of that in our system. And we do have a record of those cases where we've facilitated an estimate. But in the event that the resident takes care of the problem themselves, we don't necessarily have a record of that.
Thank you for the clarity. Inside the municipality, if they tag you, there's a fine, and even if you remove it, they know. So thank you. That's informative.
Thank you. And I just want to note for the record that we're in the 6th year of this contract, we've never taken anyone to code hearing. So we've been able to facilitate these and get these situations resolved without ever going to hearing. So I just want to let you know we're not the garbage police.
Are you finished, Commissioner? Mayor Marino? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Service Area 1, which is the north end of the county, has some large lots where we would do Palm Beach Country Estates or we would do Jupiter Farms. But unincorporated areas also include East Point, Jonathan's Landing, and Old Marsh, which by density and unit would actually far exceed. So I do not see including those, giving them an additional burden for the larger lot owners. I do see a pay-as-you-go or a subscription for those folks that have larger lots. I think that's the most evenly balanced approach to this. They can subscribe, they can pay as you go. The important part about all of this is the education part, letting them know what the true process is. So I don't see having a different fee structure for those service areas that have larger lots, because we also have a lot of smaller lots or single family or multifamily units within those service areas. So I wouldn't be in favor of that, but I do see, again, the pay-as-you-go or the subscription. As for my landscaper, if he's doing a large cleaning of the property, and I don't have a lot of land, but he will leave 6 cubic yards and take the rest. So he knows what's allowable. So again, it's education of whether it's the residents, the landscapers. It's education as to what you can leave. The crediting of the first 6 yards, again, it's up to the hauler to decide. Well, it looks like they've got. How does the hauler decide? Oh, you've got 20 cubic yards here, so basically you're only going to pay for 14 because the first 6 was allowed. So that's kind of a hard discussion. But Mr. Pelowitz, what are you looking for us today? I see you looking for board approval for 6 and the office by September 1st. What other board approval do you need, and what other direction do you need? Because board approval and direction are two different things. And
so
it is 11:15. My gosh, this is the longest meeting we ever had.
It would help with the MWBE service area. Moving it to 6 was, I think, I have your direction on that. What were the other two? The
office. I think the direction would be September
we have the direction
1st.
on the office. Was basically 30 days before October 1. That's the date there. And the elimination of the MWBE requirements, which is the elimination of the joint venture requirement. That was the other thing. So with those things, we have some solid direction going forward. The only thing I see left in the air right now is we're looking at the commercial rate and coming back to you with information on the commercial rate. We're looking at the
vegetation volume.
The vegetation volume is the big discussion we need to continue to settle on what that's going to look like in the bid. But again, we have till August to do it. I just want to get everyone thinking about what the options are, the alternatives are, so that we can get to a point where we can basically get concrete direction from the board on where you want to be on that.
And do you feel like you have the direction?
I think I'm good right now with what I have, and we'll take what we have and come back to you maybe in April, maybe in June, and also hopefully we'll have the South Bay bid to look at.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Is that all, Paul, for this presentation?
Yes, Madam
Good.
Chair.
We have one card.
Actually, I have
Commissioner
one.
Woodward.
Thank you. Just one quick thing. Since this is really, picking up the vegetation, it's really for the haulers, because if they end up with a full truck, then they have to go run and empty it and then come back, driving up the price. So I mentioned it to him this morning. I had a meeting last week with an AI company, and I won't name which one, but there are potentials out there where they can tap into the existing cameras that are on the trucks, and they're actually able to measure. So the AI can measure the cubic yards, and so that could potentially solve some of this. And if we were to tighten up what we're looking at as far as pay-as-you-go and make it clear, and we're able to provide some sort of a solution for that, I think that would even lower the rates for the area overall if they know, well, like they'll be able to, charge for if there's any excess, make it easier for that process to happen. And then we might even get lower rates altogether because those are, I think, our two highest service areas, price-wise, right?
Yes, they are. And as I said, we're going to continue with the technology, looking for technology review to see if there's something out there that can help with this problem.
Okay. So we do have Alexandria Larson.
I don't know why we can't teach common sense. The guys drive around and they get an estimate. The drivers do it. I hear them in the morning. They'll drive around. They'll do a sweep. They do a sweep about the size of the piles, what we've done. Because my neighbors, some people know about them. They're weasels and like to put it on the property line and say, well, that's Alex's stuff. But I always call them and say, no, it's not Alex's stuff. It's theirs. And they know. You guys are really good at what you do. I got to give that to the Solid Waste Authority. They do. They do a sweep. You don't need artificial intelligence. You just need some basic common sense, and they do it already. They go around and drive around and see what I think they have an estimate in their head, the drivers and the picker-uppers, of what they're going to be taking away. What? Because you hear them. You can't miss those trucks. I don't care how thick your windows are, but they do drive around. I don't think we need to micromanage it to death. I mean, we are the ones. The acreage and out west are the highest rates in the county. We're aware of that. We came in 20 years ago and begged and pleaded, and it went down for a while. It's gone back up again. It's just the way it is. It seems to work that way with insurance, everything in our lives. And hopefully, if we look at it, like you said, we might save a few bucks here and there. But the vegetation, nobody's, it's not growing that fast. I put it out maybe 10 times a year. I'll put a small pile out. I really do. That's what I do. And my landscaper, like you said, some of them know automatically, and then they take away the rest. Because I don't think we need to micromanage this to death. That's what today turned in again. The second time we're talking about this, it's like we just come to a cohesive thing, and maybe you can get along on this, because it's another cost, and it does go up, but everything's going up. Everything that we do in our lives. But the 6 yards works. Like you said, education. It is working. There are people who get tagged, and they know there's a red tag hanging on the pile that it's over the amount. I think it's just common sense right here. That's all it is. So I do. I think we have a grip on it. There are people who abuse everything in the acreage. There's somebody who's, if there's a rule, they're going to break it. It's how it's been forever, 30 years that I know of. So, because like Commissioner said, you could put out a car and they would take it away 30 years ago. You could put out a lot of stuff. And then we've gone down. They don't pick it up anymore. So hopefully we'll come to a good thing about this, because like the one that's over the county line, if I remember correctly, they're on Hope Sound Road. One of their, offices years ago it was. I don't know about today. I haven't driven Hope Sound recently. But they do. We've got some really good people. You got a really good system. And hopefully we won't micromanage it to death.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Commissioner Woodward, do you still need to speak? Are we all good for item 91?
We are. Thank you.
Okay, good. Next item is 9F1, to establish criteria and exemption for permitting for food-to-food recycling of pre-consumer food waste. Mr. Pelowitz?
Mary Beth?
Oh, I'll take it. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Item 9F1 on the agenda is to adopt Resolution 2025-01, authorizing a food-to-food waste diversion and recycling program in Palm Beach County. Food waste is a solid waste and is subject to the authority's exclusive flow control powers. Diverting food waste from the system is a prohibition of the Palm Beach County Solid Waste Act. However, historically, the authority has allowed some pre-consumer food waste from grocery stores, which is basically expired fruits, vegetables, dairy products, and bread products, to be diverted from the system for animal feed production. This activity has now become known as food-to-food recycling. And the intent of this resolution is to establish specific criteria and an exemption from permitting for food-to-food recycling of the pre-consumer food waste for the sole purpose of producing animal feed for livestock and domesticated animals. And staff is recommending adopting Resolution 2025-01. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I happy to announce we do not have any lights on, so, and or card. Do we have a card? 9F1.
Alexandria Larson.
Last thing, because we went on for so long. But are we exempting somebody? We're waiving a permit of some sort. Is that what we're doing? They don't have to go through another step to food? Is that what we're doing here?
Yes. So what we're basically saying is if you're a grocery store or something like that, and you've got unsellable food because you can't sell it in your stores, and you want to contract with someone to come in and take that food waste away
to the animals
and produce animal feed with it, that you won't need a permit from us. You may need it from somebody else, but you don't need a permit from us. It's not subject to our flow control authority because it's food going to be used as food, and that all we're asking for essentially in this is some kind of notification up front and some reporting so that we can include it in our recycling numbers and all that. But it basically...
So will it count as recycling? That was one question somebody had. And the other question I had is, food is the one basic thing that will break down in that damn landfill. You will have air because it will turn to dust all by itself. So, but the permits, somebody was asking, does this add to the traffic? Does it add? They're asking all kinds of stuff, I get some weird phone calls, dear. But I was like, it sounds pretty simple. They'll feed the animals with it. That's what we're doing. And we're trying to skip a step so, the animals get the food. Right?
Exactly. And to keep it out of the solid waste stream.
Because right now we pay, somebody has to get a permit to do that.
Right now, everything else is flow controlled in Palm Beach County. So that means that all the waste generated in this county has to come to this system. What we're allowing this material to do is leave for the purpose of producing animal
Well, no,
feed.
I just don't want it to get abused like manure when it turns into 27 feet out on Okeechobee and D Road. You know what I mean? If somebody could have stockpiled the vegetables like they did Manure. Because that was somebody asked me that, so I figured I'd ask you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2025-01 authorizing food-to-food waste diversion and recycling program in Palm Beach County? I have a first by Commissioner Sacks. Second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor, say aye. Show that the motion carries 6-0, please.
And if I may read in the caption of the resolution?
Please.
Thank you. Resolution number 2025-01, a resolution of the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County establishing an exemption from permitting for the diversion of pre-consumer food waste to a food-to-food recycling program, providing for definitions, providing for authorization criteria and procedures, providing for limitations and prohibitions, providing for an appeals process, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Other scheduled matters, Mr. Pellets?
We still have 9G1, which is the SBAC appointments. So similar to CAC, we have 2 vacancies, District 5 and District 2. So whenever you have someone you want to recommend, please just let us know. And we have the at-larges down below, and we do have 1 vacancy in the at-larges. So I'm asking today for anyone who already has a member for their district. If you're okay with it, that's fine. If you want to change it, you can let us know now or at a future date. And we need the board as a whole to approve the 3 at-larges that we currently have: Bruce Lewis, Cassandra Oliver, and Selena Semios.
So moved.
I have a first by Commissioner Woodward, second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor? Aye. Show that the motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Comments by General Counsel?
No comments.
Comments by authority staff?
I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the folks in the back who get the broadcast done, to Channel 20, and everyone who helps put this together.
Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Weiss. Any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Woodward?
No comments.
Commissioner Powell? No comments. Commissioner Sacks? No comments. Commissioner Flores?
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Pelowitz and the team for giving me a tour of SWA, taking the time to educate me and catch me up to speed as much as you possibly could. I thank you for that, and thank you for the team for the warm welcome.
Our next regular meeting date is Wednesday, April 9th at 9:30 a.m. Meeting adjourned.
Welcome to Inside PBC, where we highlight what's going on inside Palm Beach County. So let's say you received a traffic ticket